Once again, it's on. You know what time it is. For the 100th time, it's time to play some toss. Welcome, everyone, to episode 100 of the Tristain on Sports Show Toss. We made it, y'all. 100 episodes of Toss. I am your main man, T-Squared, Tristain Thomas. Thank you so very much for joining us on episode 100 of Toss. This week, we've got to talk about a Packers showdown in Kansas City. How did things shake out? What did we learn? What do people need to stop doing? How can they move forward? The Bucs, now 10 games through, 11 if you're counting the game that they are currently playing. How are they? Is it time to hit the panic button? We'll discuss. And in the toss sweep, we got to get to some pure dumbassery. Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers with a little bit of new information that just came down not that long ago. But you all know how we get things started here on Toss. We've only done it 100 times. We get things started with the state of the state. And before I even do that, when I welcome you all to this program each and every single week, I truly mean it from the heart. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're choosing to spend this time with me and with Toss Nation Media. And it means the world to me. Speaking of world, you're talking about everyone listening all over the world. You're talking about India and Africa and Ireland and the UK. So many places have been rocking with Toss for so very long and showed love to us and showed support to us. And we show that love and that gratitude right back to you. We love you. We thank you. 100 episodes is not possible without all of you. You're the ones who asked me to do this to begin with. I had no plans on doing any sort of a podcast until I realized that, you know what? The people are asking for it. They want that truthful, opinionated, and passionate sports talk from Toss each and every single week. Who am I to deny them that? They want this. They're asking for this. And in a world of clickbait and trying to get your attention with hot takes, somebody has to be the common damn sense of sports. And it feels like all of you have made me just that. Again, Toss is not possible without all of you. 100 episodes of Toss is not possible without all of you. It's a huge accomplishment for Toss Nation Media, for myself, but it's a big accomplishment for all of you, because if it weren't for all of you tuning in each and every single week, spending that time with us, this podcast would have faded a long time ago. Toss Nation Media would have never been created. I have so many people to thank, but so little time to do so. But I want to make sure that you know that the love is mutual. The gratitude is out of this world. It's my job to kind of put things into words, but a moment like this, at 100 episodes, it's really hard to put into words. So I guess the best two words I could say are thank you. Thank you. All right, let's get on to State of the State, and let's talk about those Green Bay Packers that we mentioned before. They had a showdown in Kansas City, and I know a lot of people are going to look at the record. Oh, Kansas City 4-4, and they're struggling on offense. I wouldn't say they were struggling on offense. I just feel like people have figured them out. Two deep shell, keep everything in front of you, force Patrick Mahomes to throw underneath, because you know he's going to get bored and he's going to get frustrated and he's going to try to throw the ball down the field and he's going to throw into coverage, and that's why he's had so many interceptions this year. He's lucky he didn't have another one this Sunday, but we'll get to that in a little bit. The Packers ended up losing Sunday 13-7, and if you watch Quick Toss, again, you can catch that on Facebook. That's facebook.com/TOnSportsShow, as well as our YouTube channel. you would know that I did pick Kansas City to win the ball game 27-20. But again, it does not matter the score. What mattered was I said Kansas City would win that game. And it wasn't because you didn't trust Jordan Love, who was making his first NFL start, really getting his first real NFL action. You're talking about these games count. You're going up against first stringers, the best of the best. This is the real deal, kid. Go out there and ball out. I also said on Quick Toss that if you were going to win this game, you had to run that football and control the clock, much the same way you did out in Arizona when you had Aaron Rodgers. We all know the situation with Aaron Rodgers. Wasn't a very smart move on his part as to why he ended up being out of this game, ended up catching COVID again. We want to extend healing energy to him because regardless of his stance, we don't want anybody to be affected long-term by this disease. But we'll get to him in a toss sweep. So you needed to control the clock. You had to control the clock, 38 minutes to 22 against the Cardinals. You were going to have to duplicate that same effort. You could not afford to put the ball in Jordan Love's hands too many times. Well, when you take a look at what he did on Sunday, we're talking Jordan Love, 19 of 34, 190 yards passing, one touchdown passing that was late in the fourth quarter to Allen Lazard, his first NFL touchdown throw, an interception. He also had 5 carries for 23 yards in a running game. Not lighting the world on fire, but a decent start. He kept them in that ball game. But the 34 passes, it's what's concerning. If you look at the running backs with Jones and Dillon, they combined for 20 carries for 99 yards. They were running the football very well, especially in that first half, but that second half saw them go away from it, and there was really no reason to do so. You were not down that far. You were not down that far. You held Kansas City in check, and we'll get to the defense in a minute. But the 34 passes were concerned. This is exactly what you didn't want to do because, again, it's not that you don't trust Jordan Love, but think about it. He's a young quarterback making his first NFL start in probably the loudest stadium in all of the NFL, in Arrowhead, and I have been there personally. It is loud. Lambeau wishes they could get that loud. On the road, you just realized you were making that start, a few days prior. A lot going on. You have to be able to take some of the pressure off of that young quarterback. You have to go and help him out. The defense did their job. I wish the offensive line would have done a better job. He was under pressure all day. But back to the amount of passes that he threw. This was something that you did not want to do. I said this on Quick Toss well before the game was even played. Matt LaFleur even came through after the game and pretty much confirmed exactly what I said before the game was even played. This is Matt LaFleur's quote right after the game. Looking back on it, if you would have told me before the game that we were going to have 35 passes and 25 runs, I'd say that's probably not a good recipe for success, and that proved to be right. We shouldn't have put him, meaning Jordan Love, in that position. That's Matt LaFleur on that game. It's exactly what I said on Quick Toss, which we dropped on Thursday. You could not put the ball in his hands that much if you were planning on winning that game. He's a young quarterback. You knew Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator for the Chiefs, was going to throw everything at him. He was going to constantly put him under duress. Now, with the way this offensive line had been playing against some of the more tougher fronts, like the Niners front, like the Cardinals front, you had confidence that, like the Bears' front, you had confidence that, hey, maybe they could go out there and turn out another good performance against a front that may not be as good as those. But as I said on Quick Toss, they had been playing better in recent weeks. You have to give them credit. Well, they didn't do that. Constantly had pressure in his lap all game long. Really didn't have a clean pocket all game long. But somehow, some way, he still made just enough plays to get them in position for points. But then special teams decided not to do their job. Mason Crosby misses a field goal. This is special teams' work in the first half. And I recapped this on the Toss blog, which you can catch on tossnationmedia.com. A missed field goal by Mason Crosby in that first quarter. Then you get a field goal blocked. So that's another miss on Crosby's record. The snap and handle exchange was all jacked up on both of those, but still, you got to execute. They misplayed a punt, which ended up hitting, I believe, Malik Taylor. Ended up turning the ball over to Kansas City in the red zone. That was your special teams just in the first half. That was your special teams for the Green Bay Packers in the first half. So you pretty much G yourself out of 6 points. And you give points to Kansas City. That's not a recipe for winning, but yet somehow, some way, Jordan Love kept them in that game, at least offensively, continued to put them in position for points. They just could not finish drives. They finished one. That was on an Allen Lazard touchdown. The offensive line did not do their part in keeping a pocket clean. So you can calm those worries down in a young quarterback's head. They didn't help him there. Special teams, when the young quarterback did get this team down the field, didn't do their job to put points on the board. Helping this team out, helping the young quarterback out. They make those 2 field goals. And you're talking a 13-13 game. This game probably goes into overtime. If the Packers are able to make a stop, which the way that defense was playing, you had all the confidence in the world. They would have made that stop. Now, unfortunately, it came down to the defense trying to make a stop. And they had Patrick Mahomes scrambling. They got him out of the pocket. But unfortunately, he completes a pass to Tyreek Hill on 3rd and long. And that was the game. You had no more timeouts. You could not stop the clock anymore. That was the game. You lose 13-7. The one time that they needed a stop from the defense unfortunately couldn't get that stop. Now, I don't have a bad word to say about the defense. Other than you're disappointed with the fact they weren't able to get a stop late in the 4th quarter with a chance to get the ball back and possibly go and win the game. The only other thing I would say that was a negative was Kevin King, who returned from injury. I believe he missed the last 3 games. And you were happy to see him back because Eric Stokes, the fantastic rookie cornerback, was a late scratch with the knee. So you get King back, but now you lose Stokes. But King, who has, we all know, been much maligned, drops an interception. Lets it go right through his hands. Patrick Mahomes gift wrapped it. An interception. He dives for it. If Kevin King just goes and runs for it, that's a pick 6. He had nothing but green in front of him. And he was running out. He was outrunning anybody that was over there. But that was really those 2 plays, the 4th down or the 4th quarter nonstop, and that dropped interception were the only 2 negative plays I can even recall the defense having in that game. Everything else was positive. Chris Barnes, Devondre Campbell, the reigning NFC Defensive Player of the Week. Congratulations to him. They were all over the field. Chris Barnes, who got off to a slower start, he's lathered up now. Last 3 games, he's been playing some really good football. He's getting back into shape. He's rounding back into form. Those 2 were all over the field, hitting hard. stopping the Chiefs in critical moments. Rashawn Gary continuing to bring pressure off the edge, got to Mahomes once, but was continuously in his face all game long, off that edge. You held this offense for the Kansas City Chiefs to 13 points. You did not allow them to have really any big-time explosive plays. And you did it without Eric Stokes, Jair Alexander, Zadarius Smith, and Kenny Clark for most of the game because he went out with a back injury. Those are big-time defensive players you were missing. And you went out there and held the Kansas City Chiefs to 13 points, one of their worst offensive performances in terms of passing yardage and rushing yardage and points on the board that they've had in quite a long time. And you just wish you could have gotten the defense a win with that. This defense is absolutely legit. After Sunday's game, the Packers have allowed 180 points. That's the fewest for the Packers at this point since 2010. We all know what happened that season. They won the Super Bowl. That year, they only gave up 143. They've only given up 2,891 yards. That's their lowest since 2009 at this point. In 2009, they had 2,541 yards through 9 games. This defense is very much legit. At one point, it felt like, okay, this defense is, Joe Barry, defensive coordinator, wants them to play fast and aggressive, but we're not really seeing it. But, hey, the season's young. Maybe they'll round it to form. And they have been. At one point, you felt maybe this defense may hold them back from winning a Super Bowl. This defense may be the reason why they win the Super Bowl. And again, it was much like last year. This defense bailed this offense out so many times. Even in Matt LaFleur's first year, that defense bailed that offense out so many times. This game, this loss was not on Jordan Love. Let me repeat that. The 13-7 loss to the Chiefs is not all on Jordan Love. I need people to let that sink into their thick skulls, seep into the brain, and retain that information. You cannot label Jordan Love a bust after one start. You cannot pin this loss on him when he was constantly under duress. When special teams did not do any favors to the entire team. Was he the reason they lost this game? Not completely. Was he the reason that they won this game? No, he wasn't. But he was a reason why they were still in it. Him and that defense. Stop going all or nothing. It is not one side or the other. The thing is, he was not responsible for this loss. Stop pinning this on him. It is not his fault. He went out there and did the best he possibly could in the first start. We mentioned all the things that he was going up against. We all saw how the game unfolded. If you were truly watching it, you would understand, okay, it's really not all on this kid. And it's damn sure not on the defense. Because they were put in some precarious situations. I'm honestly proud of how Love performed. Obviously, you would have loved to be a little bit better, but look, it's a young quarterback in his first start in the NFL. You have to expect some sort of growing pains. We can't all go out there and go 31-47 for 300 plus yards and a touchdown like Justin Herbert with the Chargers. It just doesn't happen that way for everyone. We all can't go out there and pass for over 400 yards in your first start like Cam Newton or Mike White with the Jets. It just doesn't always happen that way. You have to expect the growing pains from a young quarterback. I fully expected there to be a bit of a struggle, which is exactly why I said on Quick Toss that you cannot put the ball in Jordan Love's hands that much. Allow that running game to chew up clock. Make sure you finish drives with points each and every single time you get the ball. Let this defense ball out like they have been, and you have yourself a chance on the road at Arrowhead. But instead, you put the ball in his hands, you let him chuck it for 34 times, and that was just playing into Kansas City's hands. You lost that game. It's a tough loss, but at least it's out of the conference. The Rams lost that night, so you're still at the 2 seed. You still hold the tiebreaker over the Cardinals, who won again, and that's without Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. They're 8-1 now. So you still feel good about your position within the entire NFC. You still have a legitimate shot at that number 1 seed. Again, all you have to do is tie the Cardinals in record, and you win that tiebreaker because you won the head-to-head matchup. So they're in a good position. But you have a tough one coming up at Lambeau on Sunday against the Seahawks and a returning Russell Wilson. And at this point, as we record this program, we don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to be back for that game. We assume he will be. He's able to come off of the COVID list on Saturday. But we don't know for sure whether he's going to be able to play in that game. We'll find that out on Saturday. We'll see what Matt LaFleur says, but it may be another week of Jordan Love. We don't know. We expect Rodgers to be playing in that game. We know Russell Wilson will be playing for the Seahawks. He'll be fired up his first game in 4 weeks. Wants to get the Seahawks back on track to try to get back to this playoff thing. Again, 7 teams make it. They still have a shot. But that's going to be another tough one. We'll see how they do. I'll have a prediction for you on Quick Toss on Thursday. Continuing here on Toss State of the State, let's get to the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, they are in a battle with the 76ers. 76ers come into tonight's game at 8-3. The Bucks are only 4-6 through their first 10 games. I don't know of anyone that saw that coming. But you also didn't expect the team to be as injured as they are either. You're talking about everybody has missed a lot of time. They're still missing multiple starters. Dante hasn't come back from his injury, which he had surgery on, that ankle, which he hurt in the playoffs. He's still recovering from that surgery. You're still without Brook Lopez, who's still having back issues. Chris Middleton is still dealing with COVID. You hope to get him back soon, but there's no real timetable. You got Bobby Portis back some time ago. Semi Ojeleye you got back some time ago. But you still don't have a full squad. Rodney Hood. I mean, you don't have a full squad yet. And you're missing multiple starters, as well as the anchor on your defense, which is Brook Lopez. So it's causing the Bucks to struggle a little bit. It's causing them to struggle a little bit because they don't have their starters. And it is a little bit helter-skelter right now. But the thing is, they've been playing well enough to be in games, have the lead in games. It looks like that score just went final. Bucks win 118-109. So now they're 5-6, and the 76ers are 8-4. So they get the win tonight. No Embiid for the 76ers. Giannis goes for 31 and 16. Grayson Allen, who's really been shooting the ball very, very well. 25 points, 3 assists, 5 and 9 from 3. Bobby Portis, 19 and 10, a double-double again. He's been good since coming back. They've been good enough to get leads in ball games. But they have been good enough to hold those leads in ball games. The Knicks game on Friday, they got up to a 21-point lead in the first quarter. They ended up losing that game. Had a lead against the 76ers. Ended up losing that lead, but ended up coming back and holding on to that one. But it's kind of been the story of the Milwaukee Bucks so far in this season, the 21-22 season. They've been injured. They really haven't had a full squad. They really haven't had their full rotation. They go out there, they play well enough to get a lead. They lose that lead, then they lose the game. You have to start finding ways to win ball games. Now you're 10 games through. Now there's 72 ball games left. Okay. Well, actually, since that game went final, there's 71 ball games left because now you played 81. There's 71 ball games remaining. There's a lot of time. If the playoffs were to end today, they would be in the play-in position as the 10th seed. But that's not a position that you want to be in. You want to be firmly entrenched in the playoffs. So there's a lot of time to get there. So that's exactly why I'm not pushing the panic button. The biggest thing I want to see from the Bucks right now is finding a way to close these games out, finding a way to win despite who you have on the court. You know, Giannis is going to go out there and he's good for 30 and 14 just about every night. I believe coming in tonight, he was third in the league in scoring at over 27, almost 28 a game. Grayson Allen has found his groove on this squad, shooting a lot better. Bobby Portis coming off the bench. He's getting you double-doubles. George Hill, the veteran off the bench, he's doing his thing. Drew Holiday still working himself back into shape. He's only played a handful of games. You have to find a way to win these ball games. Stack these dubs. Because that's going to benefit you when times get rough in the playoffs. You will be tested. That's if you make it. It's going to be a great lesson for you. Great knowledge for you to have. Much the same way they did last season when they were trying different things during the regular season. And you had so many people up in arms with the Bucks and why are they doing this? And this is just not what we're used to seeing. No, they're doing something different so they can have a different outcome. And that different outcome was being the only team in the playoffs to get the 16 wins, which means they're NBA champions. So no, I'm not going to press the panic button. It's not time to press the panic button. There's a reason to press the panic button. There's 71 ball games remaining. You have some players who are currently out who will be back. You've gotten some players back. They have to get reacclimated into the flow of the game. Guys like Bobby Portis, guys like Drew Holiday, guys like Semi Ojeleye. Those guys have to get reacclimated. Eventually, when Brook gets healthy enough to come back, he'll have to get reacclimated. When Chris comes back, much the same way Drew had to come back and get reacclimated after he had COVID last season, he's going to have to get reacclimated. Dante, you were expecting him eventually at some point. I don't know if they'll even play him the first half of the season. I think he may not come back until 2022. January, February, somewhere around that time. That's what I would do. I would just bring him along slowly. You got some guys that are out that will get back into the swing of things. You'll have your normal starting rotation. You'll get to a set rotation of guys coming off the bench. And they'll have that knowledge of how to go out there and win these ball games. And it's going to make you a much better team. So no, I'm not going to panic 11 games into the season. Had this been 30 games in the season, then my eyebrow would be raised, but we're not. We're only 11 games in. Let's calm down. Let's give them a chance to figure this out. They got the win against the 76ers. They're now 5-6, one game under 500. Maybe this is the beginning of a nice run for them. We don't know. We shall see. But what I don't want to see is anyone pressing that panic button. It's just too soon. And that's the state of the state. The Packers lost a tough one in Kansas City, but you can't put all of that on Jordan Love. Don't you dare do that. They got another tough one against the Seahawks on Sunday, and the Bucs, choppy waters, getting some guys back healthy, have to get them back into the flow of things, and they'll start winning. Let's forget about pressing that panic button. It's time for us to run, for the 100th time, the tall sweep. TossNationMedia.com, your home for the Toss brand of sports. Truthful, opinionated, passionate sports. It's what you deserve. Well, I told y'all we got to talk some dumbassery. I honestly don't even know where to start with this bit of dumbassery. I guess we'll start at the beginning. A little bit of breaking news that just broke maybe about an hour or so ago about the, I don't even know what they're calling it. Are they calling it immunization gate? I don't know what they're calling it, but the situation with Aaron Rodgers not being vaccinated and the Green Bay Packers knowing about it and then willingly breaking these protocols that were agreed upon by the NFL Players Association and the NFL in joint fashion. So Aaron Rodgers and Alan Lazard both were fined nearly $15,000 for breaking COVID protocols. And the Green Bay Packers franchise was fined $300,000 for their violations, and knowing that Rodgers was not vaccinated and broke that protocol. The whole franchise was in on it. Players knew, coaches knew, front office knew. Everybody lied in this situation. Every single one of them, not just Aaron Rodgers, even though he doubled and tripled and quadrupled and sextupled on his lie. So way back in August, this was preseason when Rodgers was talking to the media, and we know about the offseason he had, about all the rumors about him wanting to leave and him wanting to retire and not wanting to play for the Packers again, which I told you guys that if you're hearing anything, it's a lie because they're not letting any of that information out. It's staying behind closed doors and in-house, and that's exactly what the case was. One reason why you all listen to Toss anyway. He was point blank asked if he had been vaccinated. That was the word that was used. Rodgers, before he even says anything, he says, yeah. And then he proceeds to say, I've been immunized. Now, I'm not going to judge anyone who's not vaccinated. And the entire time, his ass was unvaccinated. Now, Michael Smith on Brother From Another peeped the same thing I did, but he verbalized it way better than I could. His suspicions were up way more than mine were at the time, even though I peeped what Aaron Rodgers had said in that press conference. He was point blank asked if he was vaccinated. He said, yeah, I've been immunized. Michael Smith vehemently said, this dude ain't vaccinated. He ain't vaccinated. Now, the rest of the media didn't really press him on it because those words can be interchanged. But Rodgers is a very calculated person. He chose his words very carefully. And I had that feeling, and Michael Smith had that feeling, and Michael Smith verbalized it again way better than I could. His antennas were way up more than mine were. I peeped it, but I didn't ask more about it. I had my suspicions, but I couldn't prove it. Then it turns out he's not vaccinated at all. He took a homeopathic method, believing that he was, in fact, immunized with the same protections that the COVID-19 vaccine, whether it be from Moderna, whether it be from Pfizer, whether it be from Johnson & Johnson. He thought he had the same protections as those and went and petitioned NFL with his homeopathic method. Apparently, he presented them with 500 pages of research, and that's my air quotes. And they denied it and said, no, you didn't get the COVID-19 vaccine. Your homeopathic method does not provide the same protections that this vaccine does. We cannot deem you vaccinated. You will have to follow all the same protocols that non-vaccinated players do, which apparently he was doing within the building. At least everybody that I talked to has told me that. But why wasn't he doing that during the press conference? When you have a room full of people, they're just now getting back into the buildings for press conferences and everything else. Well, I don't mean just now, but you know what I mean. Like this season, because last season they weren't able to do so. It was all over Zoom. This season, you finally have people back in the press room. They're there in front of you asking questions. You have some over Zoom doing that, but for the most part, most of the reporters are there. You're in a room full of people, and this virus travels airborne. It's airborne. Travels through the air. Droplets in the air from when you talk or when you breathe, when you speak, you sneeze. All those droplets go into air. Everyone's breathing that in. The science tells us that unvaccinated people carry much larger viral loads than do vaccinated people. Unvaccinated people are also more likely to have that mutate within them as opposed to vaccinated people. This is what the true science shows us. He did not adhere to those protocols, and he put a lot of people in danger. And he doubled down on that danger, going on Pat McAfee's show, playing victim. Playing victim and playing as if he's being attacked and there's a witch hunt. I mean, he played all the hits of the privileged person who has done something wrong. Woke mob, cancel culture, coercion, collusion, shaming, body autonomy is a right. And then he proceeds to quote MLK, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., as if his lying about being vaccinated is and not being allowed to do certain things because of that comes close to anything that Dr. King was fighting for. Rodgers showed his privilege, his arrogance. He lied, did not cop to his lie, trying to play victim, when he's the one that made the impression that he was vaccinated. When all he had to do was be straight up like, look, he said he was allergic to one of the ingredients in the mRNA vaccine. Well, okay, the only mRNA vaccines on the market are the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccine. Johnson & Johnson's vaccine is not mRNA. So you had that option. And then he goes, oh, well, it got pulled off the shelf. There were blood clot problems. There was literally 6 cases out of millions. And those 6 cases only came up in women ages 18 to 48. Now, you don't want anybody to get any blood clots, so I'm not trying to downplay it. But those are the facts. After they investigated that, it was only off the shelves or out of use, out of commission for 11 days and put back on. So 6 people out of 2 million doses that had been administered, all women, ages 18 to 48, were the only ones to suffer through blood clots. The vaccine was only off the shelf or out of commission for 11 days. And he said, oh, it wasn't an option. And remember, his words were, it wasn't an option at that point. So when they went and did all the research and they made sure it was safe to use, and this wasn't a habitual thing, and they put it back in commission, it still wasn't an option? Now, look, I agree with him on one thing. Body autonomy is a right. He's absolutely 100% correct about that. Everybody does have a choice whether or not they could take this. And there are some cases where people are allergic to certain things in the vaccine to where they cannot take it. 100%. But then you have the Johnson & Johnson. Are you allergic to everything in that too? I mean, maybe some people are, but I find it highly suspect that people are allergic to every single one of them. Some people are still going to support him no matter what he does, and they're going to support him even harder because of this. Now, I'll tell you one thing. I'm vaccinated. Why? Because I need to protect myself and my family. I didn't do my own research. I did the research. Fun fact about me on 100th episode, I might have mentioned this before, but my degree, my college degree, is in communications. But I also have a minor. That minor is in health. One of the main focuses of that minor in health is epidemiology. So this is stuff I nerd over anyway. And you follow the research and you understand how long the technology had been in place for well over a decade. How much of a miracle it is that he even came out with this vaccine in the time frame that they did. And how it is protecting so many. And in turn, really saving so many people's lives. All Rodgers had to do was cop to his lie. Say you didn't want to take it and move. But now you sit here you didn't expect the backlash. You didn't expect the backlash of you lying to people. You didn't expect backlash from people being pissed off that you're spitting in their faces because they lost loved ones, including myself. Getting fired up here. I've lost too many loved ones to this. You spit in my face by you doing this and pushing misinformation. There's over 750,000 people dead in this country because of this virus. And most of them unvaccinated. That is not an opinion. That is the fact. And for him to go and blame, and still, after all this time, out of all this time, this vaccine has been out, and how long we've been in this damn pandemic, he goes and says, oh, well, I caught it from a vaccinated person. So why even take the vaccine? Because the vaccine was never meant to be a cure, you dumbass. I don't know how many times we have to say this to these people. It is a layer of protection that strongly helps you from catching it, but it does not mean you can't get it. If you do get it, the viral load is less. You don't have severe symptoms to where you have to go and be hospitalized and strain the healthcare system to the brink. You trusted the doctors when your damn shoulder was broken. You trusted the doctors when your damn collarbone was broken. You trusted the doctors when your damn knee was all jacked up. But you won't trust them on this. All I can say is, personally, the person, Aaron Rodgers, very disappointing. The football player is still amazing. And some people are able to compartmentalize. Hey, he's quarterback one. He's amazing. He's going to take this team to a Super Bowl. He may very well do that. But the person is awful. And he spewed misinformation that's going to get other people killed. And that is not something that I could ever be cool with. I hope you go and ball out the rest of the season. But as a person, you're the worst. Well, y'all, that's 100 times. I can say it's time for me to get on up out of here. That was the 100th time I say that. This is episode 100 of the Tristain on Sports Show Toss. Y'all know where to find me on social media. At the20double on Twitter and Instagram. That's at the number 2, the number 0, and the word double. Follow me in both spaces. Facebook.com/T on Sports Show. That's TON Sports Show. Your spot for the Toss Tristain on Sports Show on Facebook. Touch on a lot of things there that we don't necessarily get a chance to on the show, as well as releasing new episodes of Quick Toss Thursdays during the Packers season. Facebook.com/T on Sports Show. That's TON Sports Show. And of course, TossNationMedia.com. Your home for the Toss brand of sports. Truthful, opinionated, passionate sports. It's what you deserve. But as I said before, it's time for me to get on up out of here. Thank y'all so much for joining us on this 100th episode. Let's do 100 more. It's T Squared, Tristan Thomas, reminding all of you to keep it moving forward. Always forward. Forward always. Until next week, so long from Toss.